What's the crack, everyone? It's Ollie from B2B Sports here. This Minnesota Vikings season just gets weirder and weirder. I can't even lie. The Minnesota Vikings beat the Las Vegas Raiders 3-0. Like, that's a football score. That's not an NFL score. First time I've ever witnessed a game that low scoring. It nearly broke all records as the game nearly went to overtime at 0-0. But what a weird game. What a dead game. What a frustrating game. So many emotions on this one. Firstly, I suppose we've got to start at Josh Dobbs. Didn't have a great performance again. His arm accuracy again was a main talking point. Missed a couple throws, couldn't get anything going. Used his legs once or twice, but ultimately he didn't create anything. And the Vikings were forced to punt many times in that game. There's a lot of talk online about Justin Jefferson's return, and everyone was so excited to see him. And he, made a couple of catches, but on that second catch, the ball by Josh Dobbs was a little wayward. It was a little bit up in the air. It was a little bit of a hospital pass, and ultimately JJ took the hit, which we know JJ is always going to do. And this time he didn't bounce back up. He went into the locker room. He was put as questionable to return throughout the game with a chest injury, and then that was downgraded to out, and he went to the local hospital. And you're thinking, Jesus Christ, this. We've just been talking about Reece James at Chelsea, but this is like another one of those instances where your key man, your key player, just comes back from an injury and goes down again. We're all praying and hoping that he's going to be okay, and we're not fearing the worst of a broken bone or anything like that. It's later been reported that he left hospital and joined the team on the flight back to Minnesota. So it doesn't look as bad as first feared. Whether he'll be back to play the Bengals or not, that's up in the air. Excuse the pun. But yeah, going back to Josh Dobbs, a lot of Vikings fans had their questions about him. That he's incredible with his legs. He can extend plays, something that the Vikings haven't seen before. But what he lacks in is arm accuracy, and that's what we're incredibly used to with Kirk Cousins and the Kevin O'Connell offence of the past. And ultimately, he got hooked off in the third quarter, and on came Nick Mullens, the designated backup to Kirk Cousins. And instantly you could see that his pocket presence was of a higher level to Josh Dobbs, unfortunately. And he started to target Hockenson down the middle. We got things going a little bit, and finally within field goal range to secure the win, which just seems ridiculous to me to say. It's just such a shame. I was rooting for him so much, man, and what a fall from grace. Everyone in the media in the NFL world was talking about you. It's going from 100 to zero and like just real quick, too quick. And I just feel for him. I feel for the bloke. His first two games were absolutely incredible. He had us thinking that he was going to take us to the promised land. And it's just shit how it's worked out. I think that'll be him done for the rest of the season. Providing that they need to call on him in an emergency or an unusual circumstance, I think that the Vikings go with Mullens from going forward, or potentially give Jaron Hall another shot. But yeah, the NFL is tough. It's a rough league. When it's going your way, it's great, but when it's not, it's really not. It's really bad. So I feel for him, but ultimately I think Kevin O'Connell made the right decision at that moment in time. The Vikings weren't going anywhere, unfortunately, with Josh Dobbs, and that was that. On a positive spin, I know everyone was talking about the scoreline and how much of a bad game it was, but the Brian Flores defense is really flourishing right now. He's got them playing at a championship level. To have a shutout, again, I don't think I've ever witnessed the Minnesota Vikings defense have a shutout. Well, not for a very long time, that's for sure. That was the one key takeaway that I think most Vikings fans should take from that game. Ivan Pace Jr. was flying around all over the gaff, got the game-winning interception at the end. Yeah, good times for the Minnesota defense. And if we can keep this up, regardless of the QB situation, we're always in with a shout. Remember, defense wins championships at the end of the day. It sucks because Brian Flores is probably going to move on after this season. I'd expect him to have the pick of the head coaching jobs that he wants, but he's really transformed this defense into something special. everything went the Vikings' way over the weekend. The Packers lost, the Lions lost, the Falcons lost. A lot of big players for the 6th and 7th seed lost, which is a good thing for the Vikings. We've got the Bengals next week in Cincinnati without Joe Burrow, but Jake Browning is doing a great job there. And similar to the Vikings, they're down on a QB, but they still have weapons and they can still be dangerous. But a win would really give us some good motivation going into the last few games and going into them key divisional matchups before the end of the season. I think teams chasing for that 6th and 7th spot should be aiming for 10-7, their record this season. That means the Vikings need 3 wins and can only accept 1 loss in those games, which should be tough, but I still believe. But yeah, Vikings fans, let us know your thoughts on that game. Absolutely bizarre all round. Also, are the Detroit Lions frauds? The Vikings can still somehow catch them. Thanks for listening and watching, everyone. Peace out. SKOL Vikes.